my next segment is someone everyone else would have heard of, maybe not Nathan. All right, so I'm going to be talking about Sound Ventures. So this is a venture capital firm which is
Okay.
created by Ashton Kutcher. So
I have heard of him.
there you go. So it's actually really cool. So it seems like he is more than just Michael Kelso from that 70s show, which is how he sort of started out. So this is Soundwaves seems to be the name of the current fund that they're running. And basically, or the fund that has been established, years ago, and they're running it sort of at the moment. So they've just established a new fund as well. So I'll talk about that in a sec.
Okay.
So Soundwaves is basically this investment vehicle that allows for sustainable, clean business. And the thesis is completely focused on sustainable supply chain management, right?
Okay.
So their previous fund seemed to be called A-Grade Investments, and they currently have a new fund. So the reason I'm bringing this up now is because they've made a new AI fund, which has been oversubscribed at $240 million. So this fund includes investments in OpenAI, Anthropic, and Stability AI. So those are three pretty interesting names in the space at the moment.
Could I ask, do you think that the founding of this was like, again, you are right. I don't really know who Ashton Kutcher is. Would he have made enough money in doing whatever he did to probably initiate this, like fund himself to a certain point?
So I would say so. I would have said so before I prepared for this one, but he actually does have all the LPs, like a traditional structure. I think it's more his brand name
Yes,
and
that's what I was
everything.
wondering. Is he leveraging his finance, or is he leveraging sort of his like optics, like his position in society? It sounds like he's maybe just using his notoriety.
Yeah. So you would have thought that, but he actually started this. He actually started doing this in 2009. And so, I mean, that would have been when he was at this time of being pretty popular. Yeah, so across all of his funds, he's got over $1 billion in assets under management. So this new one is a 240 mil.
You said
round.
oversubscribed. What does that mean?
Oversubscribed means that there's too many people that jumped in on the fund. And so what would have happened was they would have all been scaled. Since they're his LPs, they're sort of his people he's got all these relationships with, his limited partners. And
so he would have basically told them the maximum amount that they were able to invest. Is that what you're saying?
They would have said, here's $20 million. And then if he had, 24 of them that all said, here's $20 million, he would have scaled them all to 10.
Yeah. Here's 10 back. I only want 10. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And so that would have been the way that it worked. Either that or he's taken on more. I don't think he has taken on more capital than the fund size was supposed to be, but that would be the second option. But that gets messy with the performance that you're trying to deliver. If you just say, I want 200 million, and then you get 300 million, you're not going to perform as well because
no. More money's not always better, is it? When you get to that scale, it's actually difficult to deploy that much, and it was not in your business plan or whatever. Your plan for the fund to deploy, 50% more money, and so it's true.
Exactly.
It's interesting.
Yeah, so you might turn those 30% returns into 15% when you have too much money. So that's the issue. So he said that it's potentially the most significant technology since the advent of the internet is the
speaking to AI.
Yeah, AI. So basically, and I'd agree with that. It's really important. Mm-hmm. He is really impressively switched on. So I've watched a bunch of interviews with him, and he's in the early 2000s. It was kind of like this romantic comedy actor, like just really airhead, like really seemed really dumb. Always played this really dumb character. But yeah, he's really he's really clever. So Ashton has known Sam Altman for over a decade, which is interesting. So that's how he got into the OpenAI round. So obviously we don't need to talk about how OpenAI's products, everyone knows GPT-3, GPT-4, DALL-E at this stage, basically. So that's OpenAI. Anthropic, this is the second investment that they've made. So this one's interesting. It's a company that's all about creating AI research products that are about putting safety first. So if you look up their website, it's actually really cool. Their first product seems to be called Claude, and it's an AI assistant for tasks. It looks like you can plug it into Slack, and I'm assuming you can give it to some general tasks around processing language. On their website, it's advertised as being useful for customer service, paraphrasing legal documents, coaching, like giving advice and stuff, searching where to get your coffee, back office tasks like summarizing emails, and some sales stuff. So I would say that this product's actually been around probably before ChatGPT, because it doesn't seem as amazing now as like what it would have 2 years ago or whatever. Like, and I don't know when it came out, but I would say it's probably been one of those things, but it was just like a corporate only sort of product. So it seems like the main advantage, this is geared towards companies and commercial uses. So I reckon the main advantage here would be around privacy, like privacy and safety of data and safety of your kind of company. So for example, you shouldn't, I actually did a presentation on AI this week at work. And
really?
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I should have brought that up in our intro.
Yeah.
But so it was pretty cool. It was to the full team, which was cool. But really, you shouldn't be putting in, and this is verbatim, you shouldn't be putting in customer data or company specific emails into ChatGPT, right?
Yes.
Because it's this public forum. It's this, you don't know what the security's like on the back end. You're putting in an email which might have personal data in it or personal information, and it's taking that and putting it in its database. And so if you have a service that you really trust, like this custom fitted service, a bit like what Anthropic seems to be trying to do, you kind of have more, you could probably have some contracts in place so that if there's a data leak or something like that, you have the right to sue them, or you have the right to, the criminal charges that go behind it or whatever it is. So so that's really cool. The third company that they're invested in is Stability AI. So this is the company that created Stable Diffusion, which is the deep learning text to image model, which creates detailed images based off text descriptions. So I'm going to show you some.
Okay.
I'm going to do a little sharing sesh.
Here we go.
I put in two guys recording a podcast, and one of them's a knight in shining armor, and one of them is a astronaut, right?
Okay.
Here we go. Here's a couple of the options. So there's this one.
Wow.
There's this one. It's just generating these things straight up.
Whoa.
And pretty cool. And then there is this one as well, which is pretty cool. So that's actually Dream Studio. So they make a product called Dream Studio, which this is their like sort of premium paid sort of.
Is this the same as DALL-E?
No. This is Stable Diffusion. This is a different company. So this is the third company that they've invested in.
Do they do the same thing? You're saying it's text to image, right?
Yeah, they do. They do a similar thing,
it looks
but they
better
have different.
To me, actually.
Well, they've got different styles and different methods. So then this is Stable Diffusion, which is their other sort of This is Dream Studio, which seems like they've taken Stable Diffusion and they've added constraints and added more things and added more styles as well. This is the raw Stable Diffusion that you can find on the web. So this is the version. So I've compared them. So this is heaps with this version, right? Oh. So as you can see, it's like more realistic, like it's more photorealistic.
Yeah.
But it's like very strange, right?
Yeah, the face is weird.
Yeah. So faces and stuff. Yeah. So super strange, right? And then what I've put in, so this is Dream Studio by Stability AI, which is the company, and then these are the Stable Diffusion versions, which are not the Dream Studio ones.
Gotcha.
And then you can put in, I was to find a specific style, right? So I put in like samurais that are also street racers that have cool 90s cars, right? Because I was like, okay, like what can I put in? And so it comes up with like this guy, this is into Stable Diffusion. It comes up with some like random kind of stuff, but it is really interesting to kind of play around with. It's like, it's definitely got some of the style I was trying to capture, but not fully
yes.
there. I put in, it's really cool what you can do. And I wasn't sure if it would recognize, so this is the next one. I wasn't sure if it would recognize specific TV shows or cultural things. So I was like, okay, like what would it do if I gave it Breaking Bad in the 1950s, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, I wonder if it can recognize specific branded stuff. Like in Breaking Bad, there's, the bald guy with the mustache, Walter White, right? And so it actually came up with some like 1950s sort of stuff. And this
Wow.
is actually what he looks like. So
He does look like that, yeah.
it's really interesting that the model has sort of been trained on, it's probably been trained on the frames from the TV show, right? This one's heaps funny. And this gives you an example of how the faces are so weird. But I put in Seinfeld if it was made by Supreme. And so this is what it comes up with.
Whoa.
How weird is it? Yeah, and but I mean, it gives you an idea. This is all not Dream Studio. So now if I go back to Dream Studio, what else have I put in? This gives you an example of what they can kind of turn it into. This one's cute crocodiles in space, and so it gives you an example of like what they can kind of take Stable Diffusion with all the weird photorealistic images, and you could make a crocodile in space that's like, I don't know, and like, and I put in the same prompt with the Yakuza, samurai 90s stuff, and it comes up with this like cartoon image, which is actually pretty good. Like
that is actually really interesting.
Yeah, and so it came up with also a guy with a t-shirt and like stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, so like it's taken those weird sort of photorealistic like style things and come up with some other stuff. So those are the 3 investments that he's done so far with that fund.
With this fund.
I'll come back to that fund in a sec. But the team at Sound seems to be made up of 10 people. And there's 3 general partners, including Ashton Kutcher as one of them. They've had 35 total exits across their funds so far. So from what it looks like, I think that they've had 2 funds, but they might have had more. I'm not 100% sure on it.
Would there be any assumption that some of these exits, or that some of the exits that are included here, are personal exits of the people who are GPs? Because it seems like too many fantastic exits for like 1 or 2 prior funds. Do you not think?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they went and put in their, like, I'm not sure if the fund went and bought off them their angel investing, because basically he's done angel investing.
Is he including those angel investing exits in this webpage here? That's what.
Well, it wouldn't be unreasonable to think that they started the fund. So they started the fund in 2009, before a lot of these companies were funded, or before they started and whatever. And so, yeah, I would believe that they've done it in the fund.
Okay.
And then
that's crazy.
Even if it was angel investments, they could have sold their own angel investments to the firm, and then had an early secondary exit there, and then still participated in the whole exit because they work there. So some of the biggest exits that we've seen on the list: Airbnb, we were talking about earlier, Bird Scooters, Duolingo, GitLab, Lemonade, Pinterest, Robinhood, SeatGeek,
like every company,
Shazam, Square, Spotify, Uber. So yeah, pretty cool.
What the heck?
Yeah, so that's the 12 most sort of notable that I saw on there. Yeah, pretty cool, hey? So
that's crazy.
So it seems like they would have had massive success if
it does seem like that,
if they've exited from those, and maybe they still hold some positions in some of them, or I'm sure they hold heaps of positions in other companies as well. So who knows what their exits will look like in 5 years? Might be huge. So yeah, so the fund takes, the whole strategy is the fund takes when they start a fund, they take a high risk, high reward strategy. So they invest in a small number of companies in each fund that they do. So one of the advantages of Sound that they brought up was that they're able to invest in companies that are competitors, which is a unique VC deal.
As in they invest in 2 different competitors.
Yeah, so that's something that they were talking about as their unique advantage, I think. So apparently VCs can't invest in competitors generally. So yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
Yeah, it's cool. So their new core AI fund is about foundational models. And then the way that Ashton's described it is it's more of a Web 1 approach. So that means that this is the layer 1. This is the mobile revolution, the web revolution. And the application layer will be built on top of that. So most of Sound Ventures capital is invested in that foundational layer with only smaller amounts and potentially in other funds that they start or whatever that will be invested in that application layer. So in VC firms, the funds are usually like a 7 to 10 year thing, right? So they started this in 2009, and so they're likely to have had those two funds that we talked about before, and they're starting this new one now. And so it's unclear they could have had other funds along the way as well. And so yeah, that's really interesting. So a lot of what Sound believes is actually that the incumbents that are able to adopt this technology are the ones that will capture a lot of the value from AI. And so the reason behind that, and so typically you'd think, oh, new technology, you think of Netflix and Blockbuster, right? You think of Blockbuster just being that incumbent, and Netflix comes along with a new model and completely upends them. So the reason that Sound believes that the incumbents will end up capturing this data is because, or capturing this this value is because they have these huge data sets. They have proprietary data, and they have specific customer data relating to their specific product, right? And so then they will be able to use that to generate and use parts of these models and parts of AI and generate their own AI teams to kind of make their own machine learning model based out of their own data.
Which is more accurate because they have the most amount of data.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll win based on some random startup which has no data and a better model, So so it's interesting.
It's a good point.
Yeah, for sure.
On that topic, just very quickly, if anyone wants to listen to an interesting podcast, Mark Zuckerberg was just on Lex Fridman in the last week, and it's very interesting. They talk about them purposely allowing a lot of their products to be open source so that people can use them. And one of the things that Mark Zuckerberg says is the reason he does that is because the number of data points that are required for these LLMs is so huge that there's only literally a handful of companies in the world who could develop them. And so if development on top of that was predicated on you needing to have all of those data points, then the development would be so slow. And so he's like, it's a no-brainer that it has to be open source to allow people to build on top, as you say, to build application layers.
Yeah, interesting. Hey. Yeah, so they hosted this competition. This is an interesting, fun bit that I found from a while ago. They hosted this competition where they fund a company that wins out of 1,000 competitors. And so this was 6 years ago that I found it. They funded this company called Opus 12, which seems to have rebranded themselves to 12. But that was a climate change company turning CO2 products that are normally made from fossil fuels. They're turning the CO2 output back into those products that are normally made from fossil fuels. So the whole thesis of the company is that carbon can be recaptured in the air now and turned back into these usable products. So yeah, that was an interesting one that they were passionate about. So they've gone and they're super passionate about the sustainable, environmentally friendly sort of stuff as well. So that's pretty cool. So I think that was part of the thesis of their second fund, which was Sound Waves, was what it was called. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And their Sound Waves one was environmental friendliness in supply chain management. So yeah, that was a bit of a specific niche, but it's cool that they can sort of form funds around sort of niches.
It's a hot topic for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was particularly because I think they formed it 5 or 6 years ago. So I think it was a more more vibrant, more relevant topic then as well. So that's cool. So yeah, Ashton Kutcher played Michael Kelso in That 70s Show. He was in 2.5 Men. He's been in countless rom-coms. He even played Steve Jobs. It's absolutely crazy to go to see him from playing these roles as this dumb sitcom actor to a seriously sophisticated investor that is on Bloomberg Technology giving these really good takes. It's on CNBC and everything like that.
Does he seem to still be like an active actor, or do you feel like he's fully transitioned into this finance world?
I think he might have fully transitioned, but
Right.
I haven't seen. Actually, he did do a show recently, so yeah, it's cool to kind of
So he's maybe doing both.
have both.
Yeah. Although, could I say, to your point, is it like he is an actor, so he should be able to act as an intelligent financial investor?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
whether or not he is that is unknown.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, who could tell? But no, he I think the level of quality in the answers off the top of his head was like impressive when they were asking about returns and portfolio makeup and all these different sort of things. He was like right there with the answer, and I was like, whoa, he didn't say like, because he was sitting with his business partners
True. He
in
didn't
all
defer.
the interviews.
Yeah, right.
And he will just answer questions and nail it. So yeah.
Sick. Love it.
Pretty cool.